Hello, everyone. I'm Jean Claude at Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this deep woo woo episode. Tonight's episode is entitled Quantum Healing with Sherri Divband. You can find her work at Sherri Divband here on YouTube and also on her website at intuitivewellnesscenter.com. Let's give her a big warm welcome back to the show, Sherri, or first time to the show. Sherri, welcome to the Beyond Mystic audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I am grateful to be here.
I'm happy to have you. And what's just funny now, I'm messing up my introduction, of course. Sherri and I were just sharing here before the show that with this weird retrograde we're in now, I'm having trouble finding my words. And in the last couple of shows, you might have noticed that my universal translator is on the fritz. So folks, bear with me tonight here too, and hopefully we can get through all of this. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here on this live interactive show. We'll be taking your comments and your questions as we go along. But we're going to take a little bit of time here to get to know Sherri and how she came to be the person she is today. So Sherri, I always ask my first-time guests the same question, and it goes like this. How did universe conspire to bring you here today?
What a great way to phrase that question. I love it. I feel like a broken record because I keep repeating myself over and over in these interviews, which is lovely. But I don't have this predestined planned story. It's kind of just organically came together throughout my journey. I was an only child, and we moved around a lot, so I was always a little bit, wanting a sibling and kind of lonely. And so I turned to animals at a young age, and I always had a deep respect for animals. And I wanted to dedicate my life to animals. And so I wanted to be a veterinarian at a young age. And I kind of went down that path, and I started really young in high school working at a vet hospital. And I really actually fell in love with being an animal nurse. And so I ended up doing that for a very long time. So my life was really dedicated with animals. And I never wanted to work with people. They never really interested me. And I learned energy healing to work with animals. I worked in the intensive care unit for many years. So I saw animals in the most critical condition that you've ever can imagine. And It was really, really difficult for me. But I always knew that as long as there were people dedicated to them like myself, then, we can bring these guys back and more healthy and to thrive. And so energy healing called out to me initially, which is what I do a lot of now, was really for the animals, because I wanted to find a better way to treat them with, something other than medicine. And then it wasn't until I started having my own children, where a lot of this happens with a lot of people. I had my own spiritual awakening, and my children opened my eyes to the world. And I wasn't allowed to be in this tunnel vision anymore where it's all about the animals, because suddenly it was about my children too. And then because it was about my children, I had to notice the people around me and that they needed healing too. And so I started doing work on people, and kind of did both animals. I worked at a zoo for 10 years, worked on animals, and then I worked on people. And then eventually I just gave up the animals, and I said, I think I've fulfilled my purpose with the animals, and I still work with them from time to time, but I really went super focused on healing, because I learned about the ascension, and I knew that this is what my gift was. This was what I was here to do, was to work with people and children, to help them understand their purpose and reconnect them with their soul, and understand there's more to this world than what we see with our eyes. So awesome. Kind of how I got there.
Very good. I love that. And of course, I asked you how universe conspires because you just mentioned it there. You talked about ascension. You talked about your soul mission and your purpose. And of course, universe conspires to bring you all of these events, these opportunities in your life to bring you into alignment with that mission. So let me backtrack a little bit here. You said a lot of things, and I'm curious about, you said you were an only child. Now I'm curious, as an only child, or in your young age, let's just start there. Never mind the fact you're alone for a second here, but in your young age, did you look up at the stars? Was it because you were maybe missing a brother and sister and wondering where your family was? Did you have that feeling of longing, of maybe not belonging. Have you shared this online? Do you feel comfortable answering that question?
I never talked about this before. And, the answer is, I always thought I was a little weird and different. But it was difficult though, because I moved around a lot. So I was always the new kid. So I couldn't tell if it was because I was different or because I was new. But
Right.
I knew that I didn't get along with a lot of people, and girls were mean to me, and I didn't understand why. So I always navigated to the boys because they were nice to me. But it was the animals that really gave me solace. So like I considered them my brothers and sisters. So like I had a cat when I was young, and then we got a German Shepherd puppy when I was, gosh, I don't even know how old I was, in elementary school. And that dog was my whole life and was my best
Right.
friend. And we did everything together. So it's like I filled that void with the animal, which I think was the catalyst for me really loving animals and moving into that path. So I'm very grateful for that. And also drove me to want to have a lot of kids. Now I wanted to have a lot, but when I had 3, I said, okay, that's enough. Like
It's a lot.
I'm
Right.
done now. But I always wanted a big family, because I wanted I wanted to be around my children and my children to have children. And I wanted this big family that I didn't have, and so, but things happen for a reason. It's by design.
Right, absolutely. So as you were talking, and first of all, I have to let the audience know I've heard so many great things about you from both Janine, who I do shows with, and Michael Jaco. And then when I watched a few of your episodes, I'm like, oh wow, we have a lot in common. And as you're talking now, I'm like, okay, I understand now what you and I have to connect. So just on this childhood being out of place, I was asking that intuitively because for me too, it was the same thing. And I always felt a little bit weird, although we didn't move around. I just felt different and weird, and kids thought I was weird. And the thing you just said about girls being mean to you, for me, was the other way around. The boys were mean to me. So all of my friends were girls. So it's kind of like that opposite sex thing. It was the exact same thing. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, I asked you the question about looking up at the stars, though. Let's go back to that a little bit here. Did you have a longing for a bigger understanding than the world around you that you had in your nuclear family? Did you also look up at the stars and maybe have some questions about where you were coming from and perhaps why you were here and maybe out of place? Did that come into the equation at a young age?
No, actually, it didn't. It wasn't until later in life that those questions started to come through when I started having my own kids and I wanted to know more about like my purpose, where I was from. And so it wasn't until later in life.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get into the energy healing thing. So somebody's asking here, does she have a YouTube channel? Yes, she does. I introduced that at the beginning. Sherri Divband. So let me bring the link down here in the chat for you guys to go and subscribe. She's got amazing content there, and also the links are already in the description box below. So if you guys are watching this on replay, just click on that description below the video, and you'll have both her links to the YouTube channel and to her intuitive wellnesscenter.com website. Okay, so now the animal component of that, I know a few people in my life too who, like you, are more. They feel a lot more closer to animals than they do to humans. And for example, Sarah, my partner, if she sees an animal in distress, I mean that to her is 10 times more touching to her senses than it is to see a human in distress. Even in movies, even when it's CGI, it catches her like you wouldn't believe. So I'm wondering, did you start having that same feeling as well, where you can hear or maybe feel the pain of some of these animals? And did that bring you into the healing aspect? Was it because you were having that kind of sympathetic feeling towards them?
Yeah, I mean, animals are incredible and they teach us so many things. And I think the animals, I was very closed off with a lot of the kids around me because I was, traumatized by being bullied and things like that. And animals are so loving and compassionate, and they always made me feel safe and comfortable. And so I think that's where my love and appreciation came for them. And they taught me so many things because I can communicate with the animals and I knew what they were feeling. And they made me feel safe and they made me feel loved.
Mhm.
I know I probably sound crazy, but that this is the truth. And so when I worked with them, I started in general practice. So I did, dogs and cats and, vaccines and things. I was bored out of my mind because I also am very into medicine, and I've always been into health and wellness. So I wanted to be in the critical care unit, and that's where I saw the most suffering. And it was very hard for me because I could feel and I could feel their pain.
Right.
But you know what it was? It motivated me to take better care of them, to advocate for them, to be there for their owners. You know, I would lay in the cages with these animals after anesthesia and just be there for them.
Right.
And it made their owners feel so much better, because in the worst time possible, when you drop your animal off and you can't see them and they're there in the hospital for days, weeks at a time, they trust people like me to take care of them as if it was their own pet. And so I took that very serious, but that's when it really inspired me to learn about energy healing, because I said there has to be more. And then when I did learn Reiki at first, I would do Reiki on these animals after surgeries and in surgery. It would lower their heart rate. Their pain would decrease. I saw a marked improvement in these animals. So I knew that it was working. I knew it did. I was like, this actually works. This is incredible, right?
Right.
You know? And then I did it on my own children. And then I started branching out, and I thought, you know, these animals are all loving. You know, they're already in fifth dimension and higher. They're here for us, for our evolution, for our companionship, for our growth, to teach us to love and have compassion, right? And so it inspired me to look at other people and say, you know, stop looking at other people and judging them and saying people are mean and, you know, people don't deserve my help, you know, and it
Right.
might open my heart up even more. And I realized, gosh, I have to do something to help these people, because if it works this well on animals, imagine what we can do for people, for their healing. And so I put myself out there and I started working with people, and I was very new and very nervous because, you know, animals, they'll give you feedback through their energy. So they'll have gratitude. That's my daughter when she was young. And they'll nuzzle you, they'll lick you, they'll fall asleep, you know, but most people, if they can't communicate, they don't really know the response. But when you're working with a person, they'll tell you exactly, oh, I felt that, this is better, this didn't work. You know, like they will give you validation and reaction to the healing that you're giving. And it was night and day for me. I was like, wow, I could actually talk to this person about what they're experiencing and have a conversation. And I really enjoyed helping people. And it made me feel like, wow, I could really contribute to the ascension and help people heal their past lives, heal traumas, reduce anxiety and depression and all of those things. Reiki is just the beginning. I always call Reiki the gateway energy healing, because it's just the foundation. There's so much more than that. There's so much more to it.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you call your website Intuitive Healing. That means to me that you've transcended also the Reiki teachings. It is a good base, but then you have to make it your own. And I could tell that you've made a lot of this your own, right? So that's a big part. And maybe for the people who are watching the show as well, if you're into and you're studying these different practices, remember to bring your own to it. Yes, there's the courses, there's the base material, but then there's also your inner guidance, which is a big key in all of this stuff. Okay, let's switch gears here and talk about you talked about universe conspiring at the beginning of the show and how we're all called to be on mission, and then you realize that you needed to help humans here because there's a lot of traumas, there's all of this ascension going on, and we're being called here to maybe close down, heal, repair a lot of these old karmic wounds. So I guess we can get into the first topic of the show here would be a good point. I wanted to get your thoughts and your understanding of how the starseed incarnation process is working, or how that mechanism is taking place right now in your view, because we're seeing, you know, the rise of the Blu-ray children, the indigo children, you can name all of these things that are coming up now in the consciousness field. But I want you to take a few minutes here to explain to the audience, because I've seen you explain this on other shows and you have quite a way of, again here, making this your own, but you're explaining it in such a way that I haven't heard before. And I want my audience to really tune in here and to understand how you see this wave of maybe starseeds that are coming in, and why the timing was done in such a way, and how it all leads to the times that we're actually living in now, and what the purpose of all of that was. So I'll give you the mic here for a few minutes to expound on that.
Okay. Well, you know, I have to first start, because the last interview, you know, a lot of people were upset with me because apparently I made it seem as though star seeds are new and these new earth children are special and no one has come before them. That's not what I'm saying. Dolores Cannon was one of the first ones to talk about the 3 waves of volunteers. And I talk about that in my videos. I referenced Dolores Cannon in my book, the second book that's about children, that, we've had many waves, thousands of years, actually. We've had these pioneers come through with a voice to let people know, hey, there are exceptionally highly evolved beings coming from all over the place to Earth to help us with this planned ascension. That's been in thousands of years in the work. So we've had a lot of people coming. This is not new. The issue has been previously that a couple of things. One, the world wasn't ready yet. There was too much negativity to combat on the Earth. And these poor beings that were coming in for their first time were like fish out of water. They didn't like Earth. They didn't like being in a physical body, because a lot of these are 5th, 6th, and beyond density beings, some of which didn't even have a body. They don't have physical bodies. So they got to shrink their high frequency down into a physical body in a 3rd dimensional Earth realm. The matrix is very dark, very dense, with an array of emotions that they don't have where they come from. They don't experience war, greed, fear, all of the things that is a construct of this planet, by design, of course, right? And so they come here, and that's why Dolores Cannon talked about the first wave of volunteers. They really suffered. They really struggled. A lot of them committed suicide, or they became hermits and introverted and disconnected from the world. And they really had a hard time. Then we have the second wave, which I believe I'm within that wave, which are, the middle-aged group of the indigos that came in with a little bit more of a backbone, a little bit more preparation. So a little bit more preparation in order to come. And we are the pioneers that are paving the way and doing a lot of things. So the New Earth children that I talk about, and I'm very passionate about it, one of which because my 3 children are starseeds, and they have taught me so much. And my daughter, Aramis, who's now 6, I channeled her. She came to me when, I don't know, a year or so before I got pregnant, and told me who she was, that she was coming to Earth, that she would be my child, and what her mission was, that I would be working with children, and I would open up a children's center, and she was she was coming through, and she had a lot of knowledge and a lot of information and wisdom to teach me, which she has, and the world. And so that really got me going on, I need to work with these children and prepare them, because people don't understand why they're different. So we have these even more highly evolved beings from Andromeda, Pleiades, Arcturus. I mean, you name it, they're coming from everywhere. And a lot of these New Earth children, and I talk about really from 2000 and on, and even more specifically 2012 and on, they're coming in with no karma. They have no lives here. They're more connected to the collective consciousness. They know exactly what they're coming here to do. They're either the first wave, or in my terminology, the first waves that came through, like the crystals, who are, a lot of them are from Alpha Centauri, but other places, where they are here to open up the world with their love and compassion, to remind people on Earth to love each other again. Stop. They don't believe in competition. They're very loving. They're very kind. They don't get into trouble. They're often referred to as like pushovers, because they're highly sensitive. They'll cry really easily. They don't like confrontation, things like that. And they're here to open up our hearts. So they have a huge job to do. Then we have the other ones that come in that are highly intelligent. A lot of them from Andromeda, but definitely from other places, that come in to bring in innovation and technology. And so they're unfortunately, a lot of them are labeled as Asperger's, that have Asperger's, or they're introverted. They don't fit in with other kids. They don't want to play with toys. They won't look at you in the eye. Their frequency is greater than 700. So they are awkward, and they're uncomfortable to be around, but they don't like to be here. They don't want to talk. They don't like to speak in words, because where they come from, it's telepathically communicated with one another. That's how they communicate. They instantly manifest. So it's very challenging for these high density beings to come to this planet. And you want me to talk in words and sounds, and you want me to walk like this, and my body is so heavy. I don't like how this feels. It's very restricting. So they have a lot of challenges, and they're unfortunately labeled with a lot of different things like ADHD, just because their vibration is so high. They're hyperactive. They can't sit still. They have trouble focusing. or the ones that are very left brain, like the Asperger children, who are very, very much in the left brain because they're high intelligence. They're here to be innovators, inventors, to bring forth technology, their knowledge. In Michael Jaco's interview, I talked about how these souls are essentially masters in their craft. So those that come in that are healers, or those that come in that are inventors, those that come in that are scientists, whatever they're coming in for, where they are from, they have mastered these qualities. So they come in with advanced knowledge from a young age. They just innately know things. Our math is too easy for them. Our sciences are elementary to these beings. So they all have a purpose. They all fit in some sort of category with regard to what it is that they're meant to do. They're difficult to parent because they can be very stubborn and challenging because they are, ascended masters trying to be children, and they don't want to be children. They want to be older than they are. They always want to be older than they are. They always want to do things that they can't do. And that's just their nature. So a big part of my mission is not only helping adults ascend, clear karma, clear their timelines, help them raise their vibration, teach them how to do these things on their own, to ground and connect, but also to work with parents and children because these children need to be supported. They don't need to be medicated. They don't need to be put in another classroom because they don't behave. They don't need all of that. They need you to recognize that they're different for a reason so that we can cater to them. We have to support them. And so the education system is changing. I'm advocating for that. The whole education system needs to change. I had an Andromedan, was it Andromedan? Yeah, it was an Andromedan boy that I spoke with that showed me how they're taught in schools. Outside, there's animals walking around. They're communicating in their mind telepathically. They're all sharing. They all have the same level of knowledge. And if there are certain children that are interested in different topics, they go into groups and they work on those things. So they help each other. So your categories with other children that are interested or have the same gifts as you, and you share that knowledge. There's no competition. There's no such thing. It's all like collaborative. And we need to model that. They don't sit in a classroom all day under fluorescent lighting, listening to one teacher, everybody uniform in the same topic, and everybody's struggling to be on the same page and the same pace and the same level. That doesn't exist outside of here. So we're trying to model what they do here. And I see us shifting in that direction. I really do.
Maddie on the screen is saying, this is so blessed and wonderful. You're getting a lot of love in the chat.
Thank you.
At the beginning, it's like, oh, we love her already. I'm like, good. That's good. Okay. You just mentioned your interview with Michael Jaco. Let me bring this down to the screen for you folks here. We don't want to get into too many of the main topics here. So go check out that episode as well as maybe a compendium to this one here today. But let me backtrack a little bit. So I asked you earlier, there was a reason why I was asking you about looking at the stars and figuring out maybe that you weren't alone and that you had maybe families in the stars. And now you're talking to all of these children and you're rhyming off all of these different galaxies and star systems and provenance of these star seeds. And I wonder, where's the gap between you as a kid not looking at this and now having this full map of the universe? So do you have a guide in here? Did these guys come in to you after you got into Reiki? How did you get into that ET map and understanding the world and the different star cousins and families that we have out there? Where did you get this information?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a mixture. So I have my guides and my ETs that I work with that came to me in the exact right moment. The first time I ever had an experience with an extraterrestrial that I can remember that was the most meaningful was I was in a session with a client. And I always work with angels, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Raphael. I mean, they would always come in the sessions, and everybody's spirit guide, whomever I was working on, that would come in. So I always had help. When I was doing a healing on somebody, I would be working with their guides and angels, my guides and angels. I call them my healing team would come and they would help me and guide me on what that person needed, because I couldn't always see. My vibration wasn't that high, 10 years ago. And so I was constantly evolving and they were showing me what to do. So a lot of the stuff that I know, I didn't take a class. I was taught by the guides and the angels and things like that through my sessions. I have learned more by working one-on-one with people than any course I've ever taken in all the years and all the money I spent on college and all of that. Like nothing. That does not compare. And so I had an experience where I was working with this woman, and this this beautiful being came through, and it was very gentle, and it scared me at first. It kind of looked like a gray, but not the scary ones. It was more of like a brown color. Elena Denon does great interviews, and one of them that she talks to, it looked exactly like that one. I can't remember the name. I'm blanking on it right now. But anyways, no, not Thorhan. It's the other one, the very loving one that she, oh gosh, is killing me that I can't think of his name.
The skinnier one.
Yeah, and he's like, you know what I'm talking about. Oh my God.
Keep going.
It's driving me crazy that I can't think of his name. It looked just like this being. And the one that always talks about frill and things like that. He's he's a Arcturian, possibly. So this being came in, and it was in my periphery.
Annex.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes, thank you. Annex. So he came in my peripheral, and of course I was scared out of my mind at first, but I'm working on a client. I'm very professional, so I'm not going to show it, but I'm like, who is this? And immediately it said, I come in peace. And like it put his hand in my energy field, and I felt this overwhelming sense of love. And I was like, oh my God, like I felt just like I wanted to melt in such a beautiful way. And so he instructed me to put my finger up, and I put our fingers together. And because I guess the energy was too intense for him to work directly on the woman, so it channeled through me. So I had my hand up like this. He's channeling, like almost like ET fingers. Right. And then my hand, it's coming through my body, and I'm working on this woman's belly. And it was like 20 seconds, and then he said, stop. Like, that's all she needs. And she felt it. Like, the whole story is incredible. She felt it. She knew something crazy happened. And that was my first experience. And then other beings started coming in, and once I was open to it and I wasn't afraid, I had so many beings coming in, beautiful beings helping me, that I started to learn about it. And it really was this in the sessions with the children, that the children started telling me where they were from. I don't know that, to be honest, I'm not an expert. Okay. I can't tell you a lot about these places other than what I've learned so far, okay. But I can tell you where they're from, because their higher self, their souls tell me, I'm Arcturian, I'm ninth density, this is what I do back home, those types of things. But sometimes people will ask me, can you tell me more about Arcturus? And I'm like, I don't know that much about it. I just know what I know because I've been told in my sessions. So it's kind of like a in progress thing where as I go, I learn more because I'm being told by their souls and their guides.
So as you're being told, that was one of my questions. Are you hearing the heart voice, or you're getting that drop of inner knowing, boom, you just know it? How does that come from? Or are you getting the movie? I get the movie trailers.
You know what? If someone could see what I see in my sessions, they would probably pass out. It's so much. I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm knowing, I'm getting flashes of all their lives. They're showing me things. It's very intense. So I'm getting all the senses. I know, I feel it, I see it, I hear it. It's incredible. It's just, and it's very fast. It's like boom, 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 boom. And I have trouble. I have to tell them to slow down. I can't keep up. When I work with clients, a lot of times I'll get like 6 pages worth of notes because they want to channel. I don't allow channeling where they take over my body, but we communicate telepathically. So I'll give them a message from their guide or their higher self. And I can't write fast enough. It's like 6 pages long. And I'm like, okay, this is what your guide has to say to you. And they're like, oh my gosh. So it's enlightening speed that I have to tell them, hey, I'm human. Can you slow down a little bit, but.
Right. I always have a saying, and I've said this on my show a couple of times. For me, I get people screaming at me, and they're not physically screaming at me, but their higher self is just like, rah, with all of this information. They're trying to make that connection, right? So I know the feeling. It's so rough. Okay, let's get into this. I was a little bit sneaky before the show, and just behind you, in the crack between us there, you can see the Sun 10. It's one of the universal love symbols in Reiki. And I wanted to ask you about these symbols. When you first started learning the symbols, did you have a feeling that you already knew them? Did you have a feeling that as you were doing, like, let's say Reiki level 1, you were already feeling into attunements of other symbol down the line? And did you have a weird experience being in these courses thinking, wait, you're not going fast enough, I already know this? Can you share that with the audience? Okay.
Yeah, when I learned Reiki, I felt like, gosh, I feel like I already knew this. Like it's like as I was being taught, it was like coming to me before the teacher would speak. I don't know how to describe it. It was very second nature. It was like breathing. And
Right.
you know, I was like, I already knew all of this. You know, it was almost like something in me was activated, and the symbols were very second nature to me. I still use them. You know, I teach Reiki level 1, 2, and 3 to I've taught hundreds of people, and you know, the symbols really do activate something in you. They really do work, as well as attunements. You know,
Right.
each attunement you receive, your frequency starts to rise. Like immediately, you have, you know, visions. Sometimes your crown opens up in a way that you suddenly can have knowings, or you hear things
Yeah.
that you never heard before. It's incredible. Reiki is incredible. I don't want to make anyone think that it's not that, you know, it's beautiful, and in it of itself, it's incredible, and what it that you can do. But you know, over the years, I've kind of formulated my own. It's way more multidimensional, you know, in what I do, and opening up the Akashic record. I call the Akashic records timelines. So
Right.
when I have on my website, I refer to it as timeline healing and merging. I'm actually writing my third book right now. I'm teaching an ascension and healing course. That's a 4-week course that I teach periodically to groups of people on how to do what I do, how to do the timeline healing and merging, how to clear karma, how to cut energy cords, how to find energy cords, all sorts of things. So I'm writing it in my book because part of my mission is to be a teacher. I love to teach. I love to guide. I am mentoring hundreds of people at the same time right now. I get emails all the time, and I love it. I love every moment of it, because each person I help, I know that they're going to go out and help someone else, and then that person, you know, and it's a nice wave reaction. And so but my work is very unique. You know, it's Reiki, yes, but I teach intuitive healing. So it's more than Reiki. It's about connecting to your higher self, utilizing your own power that's within all of us. Anybody on this planet can do Reiki, can heal themselves. They just don't believe they can. They don't know they can. You know, they've been taught that it's woo woo or voodoo, or I've heard it all. But all of us can do it. And I believe that the higher frequency we are, and we'll be able to connect easier. You know, I teach Reiki to children. I can teach Reiki level 1 to a 6 and 8-year-old in 40 minutes. It takes me 3.5 hours to teach the adults. Not because they're dumb, they're not, nothing like that. It just sometimes they need more practice, they need more guidance. They don't always believe. They're like, you know, I feel like I'm making this up. Is this really working? You know, where children immediately they're like, yep, I'm doing it. I feel it. Like, no
Got
big
it.
deal.
Yeah.
You know, Reiki should be taught. This is my mission in life with the children. The structure of child education needs to incorporate from a young age. I'm talking kindergartners and up. Reiki and energy healing. What is your energy? What is energy? What is your vibration? How do your emotions affect your vibration? How to cope with with fear and lower vibrational emotions like anger. That's a big challenge right now for a lot of these new earth children, is their extreme emotions. That's the most common question I get. Parents, I don't know how to control my child. When they get upset, they can't get out of it. You know, they become paralyzed. They throw, they scream, they kick, because they're not used to the vibration of anger. So when they slip down into that vibration where they're normally vibrating super high, they get into that. It's almost like they become paralyzed and don't know what to do to
It's
get
like
out of it.
yeah, it's become a feedback loop for them. I describe it as a feedback loop. They get into it and they can't get out of that
They
wheel.
can't get
It's
out.
like a trap. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'm trying to help them learn the tools,
yeah,
and they should be learning this in school, and it should be free. Tapping, you know, teach these kids to tap, teach these kids mindful breathing, how to breathe in their emotions and release it, you know, how to cope with stress. All of these things, it should be taught as part of their core curriculum, so that when they grow up, they already have the tools, and so that the people that are coming to me now in their 50s, 60s, 80s, asking me for help on how to do these things, they know it at a young age, and so it sets them up for life, and then they teach their children. Imagine in 2 generations or 1 generation, if we started this now, the world would be a completely different place. And so,
oh,
you know,
absolutely.
that's really what I'm trying to do, hopefully.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. I'm losing my voice here. I just a little bit emotional about this as well, because I've been teaching my 3 daughters exactly the rhyme of list you just put through. Because I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. I see what they're learning at school, and I'm like, wow, really? And here, like, I'm in Canada, of course, and they're indoctrinating our kids here with political nonsense from the States, especially in the last couple of years, right? And I'm like, why are you guys filling my kids' brains with that stuff when
Yeah.
there's a lot higher concepts to be taught here, because they're capable of so much more. And my kids are bored too. They're bored out of their mind. Like, this is just, to them, school is too easy. Like, they're getting high. They don't even participate because they think it's dumb. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit on another topic that maybe is a little bit darker here, but I want to dive into it so that we can empower maybe some parents here who are dealing with this. Now, I think you would agree with me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, that we are living in this spiritual war of sorts. And not only is it a spiritual war, it's a temporal spiritual war. And as these star seeds are coming in, there is a mechanism that is tracking them as they're coming in as well. And this could explain why there's these advents of all of these, I'll just call them shoulder taps for now, trying to address the young population very as soon as they arrive here on the planet, perhaps to stamp out some of these qualities that they have. Now, this is a difficult subject here to go around with the censorship, but share with the audience how you understand that right now. And then once we've talked about that, I want to get into maybe how to empower the parents here to try to avoid some of those traps that would potentially damage those beautiful qualities of these children who are coming in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Okay. So where to start? Where do we begin? Yeah. The dark ones are very knowledgeable, okay, and knowing who these children are. Just like they're very knowledgeable and knowing who has been in the karmic wheel of reincarnation. Everybody that's been in that negative cycle, not everybody, by the way, has been in it, but a lot of people have. They have an energetic code within their just above their head that is right about here, and they know by looking at a crowd of thousands of people who has been manipulated, who's their density, and who is under their control. Easy. And now I can see it. I didn't see it before, but now it's been pointed out to me by a lovely being, and now I'm like, man, why can't everybody see this? So just like they can do that, they can kind of brand people. They can also see that these new earth children are coming in with exceptional abilities, and they don't want that. Their light is strong, bright. They're super connected to source, divine, whatever you want to call it, collective consciousness. And they know what they're here to do, and so they're desperate to sabotage a lot of these children in many different ways. I mean, I had a session with somebody recently where this poor child had been killed 3 times in a row in 3 timelines by bad ETs because they didn't want this child to come in because he was so powerful. Right. Incredible. That's not happening anymore. So anyone watching that, please. Watching this right now, don't be afraid, because none of this is being allowed anymore. The light is in control. We have one. It's just that we're just catching up. Right. This is taking time in our reality. So none of this is happening. But they're in their attempt to sabotage. They start with jabs at a young age. The hormones in the food and all the electromagnetic waves that are constant. These children are so affected by EMFs. So of course, these beautiful iPads came out, everybody to get these for your children. The video games, they're designed in a way to disconnect them from their soul.
Yeah.
Lowers their vibration. They're doing everything they can to keep these kids inside. Why do you need to go outside? You could be on Fortnite, or not Fortnite. What's the other one? Minecraft. You can make your own world. Well, whatever you want. You don't even have to get out of bed. They're trying their best and manipulating these children through the TV programs that they watch. I caught my son watching some cartoon sometime during the pandemic, and I overheard this cartoon characters talking about the New World Order, and I was like, what are you watching? Yes. I was like, what is this? And apparently that they talk about that a lot. And they're trying to slowly program our kids with these words, with symbols, with things like that. So it's normal to them. The sexuality in the TV shows from a young age.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be watching that, and it's on Netflix and Prime and all of these, targeted at the young children. It's supposed to be for their age group, elementary students, doing a bunch of disgusting things, and it's teaching them to be sexualized, or sensitizing them to violence from a young age. You can't watch any kids cartoon without there being something that traumatizes them. Their mom dies, something horrible happens, there's a villain, something that scares them. Yeah. It's everywhere in every single one. So they're basically doing everything they can to dim these beautiful children's light. And what they need is to be outside. They need to be grounded. They need to be connected back with, when I was young, I was outside. My mom kicked me out of the house and I didn't come home till dark. We got our bikes and I was with the boys. So we would ride our bikes all over the place. We would go in the creeks, in the tunnels, all of the stuff that I would probably be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I wouldn't do it now. We got right. Dirty. We were dirty. Yeah. We built our immune system. We played with bugs, all that stuff. And now the kids don't do that. And they're not grounded. So those are all there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of the gist of what they're doing to try to disconnect our children. But it's not working. It has worked to some extent, but if parents that are watching this, listen to what your children really want. They want to be outside. They actually want to play. They want to go to the forest and walk around and find rocks, and they want to go in the water and the lakes and the rivers and in the oceans, because they know that that's how they connect. So get them crystals, talk to them about the ascension, talk to them about angels and guides. I had a world premiere the other day. I'm very excited about this. I just want to put a plug real quick. I'm working with a beautiful artist in Florida, Cami DeMario, and her and I are co-creating along with this group that's actually doing the animation for us, videos for children. It's on my YouTube channel. It's the most recent video. So we just launched the first 3.5-minute video, and it's based on characters that are 3 of them are my kids. And it's going to be a series of videos that are about 4 minutes long. And they talk about spiritual topics like angels, guides, chakras, emotions. And the main character is Aramis. So that's my daughter. And we are we're striving to do a full-length feature film at some point where we teach the children what they should know, but in a way that's fun for them. They get to watch other kids interact in a cartoon format, so they're not listening to to me bore them by my, in my classes. So I'm really excited about this, and we just finished the first one, and so please check that out.
You went too fast. I was going to bring it up later. But okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I'm leading up to all of this, but it's perfect timing. I love it. And, it was important for you to bring that up right now, too, because we were going a little bit dark. And for a lot of people who are watching this, probably not on our shows, they understand that there's a matrix of control here on the planet, and there's this energy extraction matrix. But not just that, there is also something in place to try to prevent these light beings from coming in and actually achieving their missions. And so I wanted to address that. And you've just touched a few things there about, well, how to work around maybe some of those tactics. And one of them, as you just said now, being grounded, playing outside. The big thing for me and my kids too over the last couple of years was the crystals. As soon as they started having a relationship with crystals, oh my God, they just their crown chakras really exploded. And then they started playing energy games with each other. I used to teach them how to basically move an energy ball from one hand to the other. We would hold hands around the table and we would play that game. Okay, stop, where's the ball? And they would know where the ball was, right? Yeah. And so they started playing these games by themselves afterwards. They got into it and understanding it. Just like you explained, you teach them Reiki, they'll get it right away. All like, oh yeah, I got this. This is easy, right? So there's so much there for kids. Maybe speak about a few more things here that parents can do to really put their kids back on that track. Because I'm sure probably they're still on it, but they might not be as on it as they should or would have been if they had not been detracted by all of this interference that they're facing right now. So let's give the audience, the parents here, a little bit more strategies to work with that.
Yeah. It really boils down to their right brain. We have to activate the right brain. Another thing by the negative side is they have programmed us to constantly be in the left brain, constantly be in fight or flight, constantly be competing and worrying and in stress, right? And our children are being put in that exact environment through the video games, through competing for good grades in school, and all of the things that we talked about. And so we need to reactivate their imagination. That's the key to them, to their soul, to activating their spirit. So a lot of sessions that I've done, kids have actually, I'm talking about their higher selves, have told me we need to be stimulated. So if they're the creative ones, they need to do art. And it needs to be art that's like not the coloring books where they just color it in. It has to be more creative. Right. They have to create by painting whatever they want. Mm-hmm. Or creating their own artwork with crayons without filling in the lines. That's not creative energy. Craft, creating, putting things together. My daughter will spend hours, almost like, oh my gosh, can we stop now? Like that's how she wants to do it constantly. They need to be stimulated. They need to be stimulated in a positive way where it sparks their inner creative side, because that is what raises their vibration and keeps them connected, keeps them strong. Those that are more innovative and they're analytical ones, the thinkers, they need to be stimulated in a different way. They could benefit from art as well, but those are the ones you need to buy the little science kits, the chemistry sets, the Legos, where they're building things, or robotics where they take things apart, put them back together. They need to know how things function, how things flow. So giving them things that stimulate the mind, or books, things like that. And then those that are high energy, putting them in sports, doing some activity. And that's the thing about the sports, I will say, is a lot of these New Earth children are not competitive. They don't understand competition. I've always been this way my whole life. No one ever believed me, but I could care less who wins or if I win. I've never cared about that. And these children are now, coming in, and they don't want to compete with each other. They don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. And of course the plugged in Matrix 3D people are like, oh, the kids are wusses. Everybody gets a ribbon. That's ridiculous. No, they're actually trying to show us and model the right way. We have it the wrong way. It's been the wrong way the whole time. Healthy competition is a good thing. But when you put these children in situations where they don't feel comfortable and they don't want to compete, then we are lowering their capabilities, and it's making them uncomfortable, and they don't like to be put in that position. So sports where it's more fun. So, not competitive sports, not those parents that make their kids go in and they make it their whole life and turn it into what they wanted to be a basketball player. So now their son has to be like, no. So it's having fun. The sports having fun, or movement, dance, theater. It has whatever sparks their creativity or stimulates their intellect. That's what these children need to do. So the more parents can do those things for them, then they will thrive, and they will thrive so much more.
I love it. Absolutely love everything you just said. And I want to bring this to maybe another level here. Again, for the parents, tools for the parents here. In the airplane, when there's turbulence, the masks come down and the instructions are put your mask first, and then you can put the mask on your child, right? And so as you're doing this energy work, we're also coming into, there's the detractions coming from the matrix to try to prevent the kids from getting into their higher selves and to their mandate. But there are also the parents sometimes who are in the way. And that represents itself mainly through these core wounds that have not been addressed. And so how can we talk about helping the parents realize that they have to do work on themselves as well in order to be able to not only protect their kid, but also bring them to the best possible versions that they can be? You just mentioned, for example, the soccer dads or moms who are trying to relive past wounds from their childhood through their kids, as opposed to maybe dealing with those core wounds. So let's switch gears here and talk about some of the energy work, but the intuitive healing that you're doing as well, and how to empower the parents to maybe scan their own body to look for those maybe old programs that no longer serve them, that they are transmitting to their kids, as opposed to resolving. And we're all being called now to resolve a lot of this at this particular time as we're transitioning into this new timeline here.
Yes. And, a lot of the higher purpose of these children to pair with the parents that have them is to rattle these parents up break down paradigms, take them out of the boxes that they've been placed in, so that they reevaluate themselves, and they are forced to now recognize their strengths, their weaknesses, their blockages, because they need to heal. In order for their children to thrive, they also need to heal themselves. So I'm big on empowering people to help themselves. There are a lot of people out there like me who are here to as guides and teachers, and I can get you going, through sessions with me. I can clear a lot of karma. I can take energy cords out. I can remove the reincarnation one. I can get you going, but it's ultimately up to the person how far they're going to go from that point. I can't do all the work for each person that I work with. So I work with each and every person, and I say, whether you have kids or not, so this is for everybody, to be the best version of yourself is to heal and find peace within yourself. And the way you do that is forgiveness, recognizing your emotions affect your wellness. So my first book, Intuitive Transformation Evolution, is all about recognizing how your emotions affect your wellness. All of that grief, anger, resentment, worry, all of that shit you're holding on to your whole life. I'm so mad at this person in second grade because they did this to me, or I'm mad at this boy because he broke up with me and cheated on, a lot of us are carrying around that weight of guilt or anger and resentment towards people. And all that's doing is keeping you, it's literally tethering you to third density. And in order for us to evolve and be in a higher frequency, we have to let all that go. It's literally, imagine it as weights. So each time you let something go, or you forgive somebody, or you don't judge other people, because everybody's on their own path at their own pace, people need to focus on themselves. Stop looking at all the news and find out what's happening in these dates, or worrying about what your neighbor's doing, or who got this jab, and who's doing it. Doesn't matter. We have to focus on ourselves and heal ourselves through meditation, through mindfulness, through connecting to our higher self, turning off the TV, stop watching. The same things that our children need to do to thrive are the same things that we need to do. We need to also put down the computer. We need to turn off our phone. We need to stop watching the news. We need to stop doing the things that disconnect us. And we need to be grounded. We need to use the crystals. We need to go outside for walks. We need to, hold on to a tree and connect with the energy. All the things that our children are doing, we should be mirroring that. And so there's a lot of things I can suggest. I mean,
well, let's go back here to that book you just mentioned. What was that title again? Is that the first book for people who are just getting into that, who are looking at your product offerings? Where would you point them to begin with here, to just maybe get a taste of it, to see if they want to learn even more? Which book would you point them to?
Well, if you go on the home page, it's on the bottom, like towards, keep going down. So those are my two current books right there. So Intuitive Transformation Evolution, the blue one, is a guidebook for people who are beginning their spiritual journey. It's all about recognizing your vibration, what that means, how your emotions directly affect your vibration. There's environmental effects. There are things that are in your control and things that are not in your control. How to tap into your intuition, and through that journey, you are part of the evolution. I talk about forgiveness in there. I talk about our life purpose, all of those things. And I give people a lot of tools, meditations that I wrote myself, or recommendations, mindful breathing, all of these tips and for things for people to do to take their healing in their own hands. And then Divinely Guided, that one is really for teens, parents, and the young adults who are the New Earth children, either the parents of the New Earth children or the New Earth children themselves, that are really struggling and wondering why they're different, what they came here to do, why they're struggling, all of those things, to really help them identify who they are, what their direction that they're going in, and kind of the tools to succeed. So I'm really proud of both of the books. They're easy reads. There's nothing in there that someone else probably hasn't already said, but again, it's all about perspective, right? So these are my tools, things that work for me, things that I've found myself teaching parents, clients, or in my workshops and classes, saying over and over and over again, that I finally was like, you know what? I need to just write this out in a book so that I could just say, here, read this, right. Because I'm repeating myself a lot, and it's good information for people to know to really help themselves. And so, yeah. It just depends on what they're looking for.
I love it. Okay, so that's great. So the audience, you can go check that out, intuitivewellnesscenter.com. This was the homepage. Let me just bring that back into the live chat for you guys. If you're just joining us again, or if you're watching this, sorry, on replay, the links to both Sherri's YouTube channel and this website here are in the description box below. Now, the thing I like about the way you're explaining things here in this episode and the videos that I've watched of you, you have a way of communicating 5D, 6D, 7D dimensional concepts here in a way that is accessible to everyone. So I can just imagine how you've transformed and put that information into words into these books. So I'm looking forward to reading this. The first one here, the blue one, I think is the one I'm going to go for here. Now, for the people who are maybe a little bit more advanced and they want to dive in to maybe become a practitioner themselves, or they want to do even more deeper core wound work on themselves, what type of classes do you have available now? Of course, I'm assuming here because of COVID and the area you're living in, it's hard to do some of the things in person. So what are the online classes and what availability do you have right now?
Yeah, so a lot of them are virtual right now for the reasons you just mentioned. So I was inspired to put together an ascension and healing course that is a 4-week class. That's the one right there. So it's I'm doing them every couple of months, and I'm taking up to 6 people at a time max, because I take my mentorship very serious. When I teach people, I don't care if I taught you 7 years ago. Like, I still answer emails because it's a responsibility of mine. If I'm going to be your mentor, I have to be available. So I need to make sure that I have enough time, to do that, because I do healing sessions as well. So this course is 4 weeks, and you learn Reiki level 1 and 2, but you also learn things like timeline healing and merging, creating Merkabas, how to tap into a higher awareness. All sorts of shamanic healing, raising your vibration. All sorts of things. So you get level 1 and level 2 Reiki, but then you get all the intuitive cord cutting, how to identify cords within someone's field, how to cut them, all sorts of things like that, because I feel like people are ready for it. So I want to mention that this is a class that it's kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced all in one. But I was guided that people are ready for this right now, because there's so many people waking up and they want to heal. And so this is for them. This is for everybody that they want to go, like, I want to go both feet in. I'm ready to just learn, and so that's why I created this. Then, I don't really have the time right now to do the smaller classes like Reiki level 1. I used to teach, by itself, level 2 by itself, pendulum class by itself, intuitive development by itself. So I've kind of combined a lot of them together. And then for those that are like a little bit weary about doing all of those at once, then I have pre-recorded virtual downloads, Reiki level 1 right now, and intuitive development. So you basically just download all the videos and I teach you, and you go at your own pace. So those are the things that I'm offering right now. I'll probably get more into the classes because I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things. But right now I feel like I need to give precedence to the children when I do my one-on-ones with kids and I work with them, and also adults, and getting through this ascension and the healing. That's what people need. That way we can remove blockages, clear karma, contracts, negative energy, all of that, so that I can set people up for success in their healing journey. So so that's what I'm offering right now. And thank you for showing everybody those.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. It's all about sharing that information right now. And also, I also agree with you that people are ready for way more. And so for people who want to take this in bite sizes, they have busy lives. I understand, you can go ahead and take those little courses in the standalone. But that one you're just talking about there at that price point for everything in there is very affordable.
Trust me, it's very reasonable. The time I put in.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I remember when I paid to get all the way to the Master Reiki, and it was very expensive. So this is really cool for level 1 and 2, including everything else you have.
It's a very good deal. I put a lot of time into it.
Absolutely. Okay, we're 58 minutes into it. I didn't have time to look too much at the chat to ask them for questions, but let's end on this one here. Do you have any, at this point, we've talked about a lot of things today, and we could go on for another 4 hours. There's so much on this topic, and I have to thank you, first of all, for taking the interview and to share this with the audience right now and all the hard work you're doing, because I understand how much hard work this is. And on top of that, having a YouTube channel and doing these shows, because it's just a lot of work. But the thing is, we are at this precipice. We are at this very, very important nexus in time where it's make or break. And so you are absolutely working that path. You're sharing 120% of your energy with the audience here, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I think people in the audience here are seeing that, and they do appreciate that. I do, for one. So thank you, Sherri, for that. Let me maybe ask you if there's anything here in leaving today that you want to share that you think is absolutely important to come across, either for the children, for the parents themselves, anything else that has to do maybe with this spiritual war or this merging of timelines. What is screaming at you right now? If you're listening to all the guides of the people in the audience here, what do they need to hear before we end this show today?
Yeah, that's a good one. I asked the other day what I should tell people, and I keep getting the same thing. Find peace within yourself. Take care of yourself right now. We're on the right timeline. Okay. We're on the ascension timeline. I don't believe that anything will take us off course. So we're already moving in the right direction. So instead of focusing your attention on what dates are happening or who's actually president or all of those things, or what's happening to the children in the tunnels, like, try to focus on your energy on something positive. Listen to people who are speaking in a positive way, trying to uplift. Use discernment on who you're listening to or who you're going to for healing. If people are watching me and they resonate with me, then that's great. If they don't, then they're going to find the right person. That I have that chapter in my book. Everybody has their line. I believe that everybody has an energetic line of people that they're meant to work with and help and guide, and vice versa. I'm in a lot of people's lines as well, but not all lines are equal, right? So not everybody resonates with one another. So use discernment and watch the right things. Listen to the right people. Don't believe here. There's a lot of disinformation out there on purpose to lower our vibration, to keep us in the mode of fear. If everybody watching this would spend 2 minutes every day of mindful breathing, just breathing in and saying, I'm choosing to release any energy that is no longer of my highest good. And you take a deep breath, you hold it for 2-3 seconds, and then you take a big exhale and say, I release it now, and ask Mother Earth to transmute it into light. She's happy to do that. If everybody did that every single day and focused their energy on faith and positivity and love and compassion and empathy, stop judging everybody, stop being mad at everybody, stop watching people who are putting you in a negative mindset, that are keeping you up at night because you're thinking about all of these negative things. Follow the path that leads to enlightenment, whatever that means to each one of you watching this, because it's going to be different for everybody. But focus on the positives. Heal yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on your children. Focus on the things that are in your control, because the things that are not in your control, which is a plethora of things, that'll be our biggest demise. That is what's kept us in third density for all of these thousands of years, is focusing on things that we're not in control of. We are in control of ourself. We are in control of our evolution, our vibration. We're in control of all of it. And so just focus on that and let everything else go. Sorry, that was longer than I probably was supposed to go. But
No. That was absolutely perfect. And I'll recommend to the audience to rewind 2 minutes and listen to that again. You couldn't have said it any better. So thank you so much, Sherri, for being here. Folks, that was Quantum Healing with Sherri Divband. Of course, you can find all of her work on YouTube here. Please do remember to go like, share, and subscribe to her channel. But really share these videos. This is what it's all about right now, especially this last trailer here. Give it a test run with your kids and see how that works.
Please, and leave comments.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great too. Yes. Leave comments, suggestions.
Let us know if you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Sherri. I appreciate it. And of course, you can find her books and also her online classes here at intuitivewellnesscenter.com. So, folks, thank you so much for being here. Please also remember to like, share, and subscribe here at Jean Claude and Beyond Mystic 2, our backup channel. We're at 39,400 and strong, growing, rebuilding the community here on YouTube. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a great evening, and au revoir.
Bye, everybody.